Just ahead on the Best of John Miller, we profile an Elvis impersonator who's a little different from the rest of the pack. Also, meet Frances Rice.
In a word, describe her.
She's non-stop. Frances is totally unbelievable.
That's 2 words.
Wonderful. Exceptional.
She spent her 90th birthday the way she's spent decades, being a crucial part of the team at the Boise Veterans Hospital. Plus, a Boise man discovers a real look back to the past.
This is from the office of President Andrew Jackson.
A chest full of items from the Civil War. And it's hard to duck from the talent of a Treasure Valley artist.
Ducks more generally poop in the water, whereas geese prefer pooping on land.
We look at his exhibit dedicated to geese.
Discover the lighter side of Northwest living as Idaho's News Channel 7 presents the Best of John Miller.
Hello everyone, I'm Maggie O'Mara in today for David Augusta. Glad to be with you. Have you ever seen an Elvis impersonator? Every year the best Elvis impersonators gather to crown the King of Kings. Robert Washington was always at the competition, but could he ever go to the top? John Miller takes a look.
Outside Seattle's Space Needle, Robert Washington is walking on hallowed ground.
Oh, I've been a fan since I was a kid.
About the time Elvis Presley walked right here more than 40 years ago. In the film, it happened at the World's Fair.
Golly, I don't know where to begin.
Well, let's begin when Robert was a kid.
How old were you when you first got caught doing your Elvis moves in your bedroom? I don't know, 10, 12 probably.
Bought all his records, saw all his movies.
Happened at the World's Fair. It's one of the first ones I've probably seen.
Really?
You haven't seen anything yet.
Because Robert's been at this for years now. In the documentary Almost Elvis, he's featured as one of the world's top Elvis impersonators, though never quite crowned the king.
I've been in second place 3 times.
And you're going, it can't happen again. It can't happen again. And it kept happening again.
Kept happening, yeah.
Robert Washington, for those who don't know, is a black man.
Because I'm a friend of his. I told him honestly, I said, you know, Robert, I don't think you're ever going to win because you're black.
Yeah. For me, you know, black or white, it doesn't matter, but I just wanted to win.
You got the moves either way.
Exactly.
And though every year the championship in Memphis is, well, big.
You're a very low-key guy, I can tell you. Keep it low-key until you get on stage. Yep, and then I'll let loose.
Yeah. It's all Elvis then.
Yeah, exactly.
And last year, when they called the winner,
Robert Washington!
I thought it sounded like my name.
After all these years, ladies and gentlemen.
Then everybody started running over and hugging me and stuff, so.
Yeah, that's like winning the World Series.
That's the big one.
So now Robert, a guy who spends his days building Navy ships in Maine, spends his nights as the world champion Elvis impersonator.
And it's very flattering.
Wowing all kinds of women.
It's scary sometimes.
Lord Almighty, feel my temperature rising.
And now that he's made the climb,
Running through to my soul.
Robert Washington says it's good to be almost the king.
A good impersonator he is, and he's fit too. Does your daily fitness routine include a few sit-ups? Have you ever wanted to be involved in a world record? Would you ever combine those 2 things? Amazingly enough, someone did. And it might not surprise you to hear that John was there to watch.
There it is. The fact that Skip Chase showed up at a car dealership at 7 in the morning with an abdominal frame, boxes of timers, and camera equipment is just part of his world record story.
The title of the record is Sit-Ups Using an Ab Frame in 1 hour, and then I will continue for another 23 hours to establish a new world record of sit-ups 24 hours.
Skip, it causes pain just to hear that.
I hear that all the time.
And so he began without fanfare at 8:06 a.m. to the beat of a metronome, hoping to hammer out 7,400 crunches in 1 hour.
Well, it'll be about a little over 2 a second.
Everyone pondering Skip's pain, few knowing what really hurts him.
Well, when I was 5 years old, my big brother Richie, who was 8, was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. He suffered a life of misery. When he was in his 30s, we had a conversation, and he said, you know, Skip, I've never felt good one day of my life. Every day he felt bad and passed away at the young age of 42 due to complications from diabetes.
His mother was diagnosed just a few years later. So out of fear and intense determination,
2, 1.
Skip would easily beat the hour-long record, his 7,702 sit-ups, just a warm-up for the next 23 hours. Counters punching and Skip crunching, his record attempt becoming a rallying cry in the fight against diabetes.
You're welcome.
Rolling on through the afternoon, the night, and into the next morning, when we found him in front of a proud girlfriend and proud son.
More proud than I've ever been of anybody in my life.
2, 1.
When Skip Chase set the world record, 110,915 ab crunches in one day. You never have to do a sit-up again in your life.
And I'm not going to go after any records in the near future.
Wow, your stomach hurts just watching that, doesn't it? And it's kind of a survival of the fittest for firefighters. Back in 1998, 4 of Boise's best qualified for a trip to Orlando, Florida to compete against the nation's best in the Firefighter Combat Challenge. John Miller has a look at what they had to endure to earn that honor.
You mark, you set, go! Take a 45-pound hose pack, load it on your shoulder, you ascend to a top of a 5-story tower.
It's almost enough to kill the camera lady.
I'm not running fast enough.
But as Captain Tom Lavelle knows,
this is what it's all about.
For 4 buff Boise guys training for a 2-minute shot at an obstacle course that will show who's the finest in firefighting.
You descend the tower, hop on what's called a Kaiser Force machine. It's a 165-pound steel I-beam. You have to drive it a distance of 5 feet with a dead blow sledgehammer.
How hard is it?
Extremely difficult.
Almost as hard as
it's
talking on TV. But if you lined them up and gave them 2 words each, Tom Lavelle would tell you it's
extremely difficult.
And Mike Walker would add,
pretty strenuous.
Aaron Hummel has found it
definitely taxing.
Believe Cody Harold,
it's tough.
And sometimes it's a little funny looking, having to move this fast without being able to run through the course.
Go, go, go!
Dragging hoses and 175-pound dummies, hundreds of feet.
And then you're finished.
Literally finished.
Done! They've compared it to running a 4-minute mile.
770.
For this 4-man team, it's well worth it for the chance to be the best.
No sweat.
No sweat.
Wow, and the Boise team competed against about 90 teams from around the country. Congratulations to them. Hard work there. Just ahead, even school kids get the blues.
What do you think of this kid? I mean, geez, he's 11 years old. He's playing with you guys, the old veterans.
Amazing little guy. Yeah, he can really play.
Yeah?
I'm amazed.
We meet a young musician who's right on key to being a big success. And next, day in and day out, she spent 5 decades making a difference. That's coming up on The Best of John Miller. Welcome back to The Best of John Miller. How do you plan to spend your 90th birthday? That's a question for you. If you can imagine being around that long, you probably can't imagine working on that day. But Frances Rice is a rare breed. She worked on her 90th birthday, and as John Miller shows us, she worked many birthdays before during her 5 decades at the Veterans Hospital.
When a person orders a prescription from the VA hospital, it's printed out, filled up, sorted, and packed.
First class.
And before it leaves, Frances Rice stamps it.
Everything has to be marked first class.
It's only fitting that Frances is the one to do it.
So how many of those envelopes do you think you stuffed in your lifetime?
Don't ask me.
But after 50 years, Frances Rice hasn't lost her touch.
Now this one goes to Meridian. This one is going to Mountain Home. And of course, this one is this Boise.
Frances says she hasn't missed a shot in 50 years. Ooh. She hasn't missed many days either.
I must enjoy it because I very seldom take a vacation, and the only time I take off if I'm sick.
You can probably guess Frances would just as happily work for free. After all, she did for 38 years.
That's true.
That seems like a pretty tough internship to me.
Well, it was great, though, just the same.
In a word, describe her.
She's nonstop. Frances is totally unbelievable.
That's 2 words.
Wonderful. Exceptional. She's a great lady.
And now, a 90-year-old great lady.
You know what? No one would blame you if one day you probably wanted to say, I don't feel like doing this anymore.
Well, I'd rather be doing this than sitting at home doing nothing.
Besides, no one's been doing it longer, faster, or more first class than Frances Rice.
I really enjoy it.
Wow, 90 years old, and Frances attributes the work ethic to years spent growing up on a farm, she says, eating dust every day. Coming up, meet an artist who's ruffling some feathers with his duck displays.
So you don't have to necessarily like them, just artistically you like the way they taste.
I like the way all of them taste.
And it's not a time machine.
A literal treasure chest of old plates and pieces from the war, even some Civil War coffee at the bottom.
Well, not exactly Starbucks, huh?
Right. But one Treasure Valley man has a steamer trunk that's a real trip into the past. You are watching the best of John Miller, and I'm Maggie O'Mara. An incredible find for a Boise man. As John Miller reveals to us, Jeff Perkins has come across some real history that's been lost for years. Take a look.
Jeff Perkins has seen just about everything come into his antique store, from old marbles and silverware to toys.
It's an old cap gun.
And if all this old furniture could talk about times long ago, none of it could tell quite the tale that's been packed in this old wooden box for almost 140 years.
Kind of rusty hinges and things. It's an old Civil War officer's mess kit. The whole chest is divided into separate little compartments with these tin containers.
A literal treasure chest of old plates and pieces from the war, even some Civil War coffee at the bottom.
Well, not exactly Starbucks, huh?
Right. Really a lot of history just in the one little box there.
Including some pieces he didn't expect.
No, I don't get one of those every day.
A muster roll, or roster list, of a Civil War regiment from Mississippi. Faceless names of men who fought and died or deserted to the enemy.
Why does it seem everybody back then was named John Henry?
I know, John Henry or William Williams.
Jeff's equally unsure but no less pleased to also find these land agreements from the office of President Martin Van Buren.
This is from the office of President Andrew Jackson.
Even one actually signed by President John Quincy Adams in 1826, all important, even the unknown names, because
that's, how we put together the whole story of the Civil War. And even just a small document like that does give an awful lot of information.
A small but useful key to unlocking secrets of history.
Part of an old spoon.
Stowed away for a century and a half.
Wow, and Jeff is continuing the research on his find. You can tell he enjoys it, but he does plan on consigning it to a Civil War auction. Still to come on the best of John Miller, he's not exactly Rembrandt or Picasso, but one local man is making art that is uniquely Western. And listen to this. Brandon Sleeper has nothing to be blue about. He's an amazing musician at an age when most kids are more interested in playing video games than playing the guitar. And we're back. Did you know there is a very young blues man in town? If you've never heard of Brandon Sleeper, you could be in a minority. He's played music here in the Treasure Valley for about 7 years, and he is only 18 years old. Our John Miller caught up with this blues kid back in 1997.
The Thursday night crowd loves the blues, the thump of the bass to a 12-bar beat, and the licks from the kid they call the kid.
Talk about feeling like an old timer, huh?
Well, I don't like to say that, but sometimes you do.
Especially when you're trying to keep up with an 11-year-old who's already learned the scales and the faces. A true blues man needs to know. How long have you been playing?
About a year and 4 months.
A year and 4 months? I mean, what was it like when you first started? Did you want to play the guitar?
Yeah, just for fun though, and I didn't know that I was actually any good.
Now he's pretty much at home anywhere, in this bar, at his school, playing lead guitar or bass guitar, backing up the king, behind some cool shades over a drum set in front of a course of lollipoppin' 6th grade girls. Yes, Brandon Sleeper is learning young.
What do you think of this kid? I mean, geez, he's 11 years old. He's playing with you guys, the old veterans.
Amazing little guy. Yeah, he can really play.
Yeah?
I'm amazed. Yeah.
How tall are you?
Around 4 feet, I guess.
How tall is that guitar?
Brandon Sleeper, an 11-year-old, short on size, short on words, but big on expression.
How do you explain this talent at this age?
I have no idea.
Just 11 years old when John Miller caught up with him. Brandon is now 18. He plays in his own band called Scatterbrain. They've even recorded a CD of rock songs. And he's also on a music scholarship at Boise State, and he hopes to get a master's degree in music. By the way, he's not 4 feet tall anymore. His dad says Brandon is now about 5'10". Just ahead, duck, duck, ooh. Frank Werner is targeting a different kind of audience with his art. He's going after sportsmen. It is one of the foulest art exhibits you'll ever see. With duck season almost over, this is when things get busy for duck hunter Frank Werner. As John Miller found, Frank's decoys are great for attracting ducks and sometimes attracting people.
The best thing about Frank Werner's exhibit is you can look at it from an artist's point of view.
With the social commentary on pushing the grid, which represents high urban culture.
Or from a sportsman's point of view.
Ducks more generally poop in the water, whereas geese prefer pooping on land.
I see.
Okay.
So is that why?
It's sort of what happens when a duck hunter and decoy designer gets an artistic itch and a little free time during the off-season.
So do you have a favorite? Like you said, I guess it's better.
That's just the one over my gun sight or on my dinner table or the one in my carving vise.
So you don't have to necessarily like them, just artistically you like the way they taste.
I like the way all of them taste.
Frank's migratory bird decoys have become this migratory exhibit, sort of a traveling show best described as you art what you eat and call and carve.
The redheads sometimes sound like cats meow. Meow, meow, meow.
You can probably guess Frank's a little out there. He's been out there in one blind or another for 35 years, and call me blind, but Frank swears
they are all different. It may take you a while to pick up on that, but they're different. She's relaxed. She is willing to put up with company.
He's given her the eye right there.
Well, you may interpret it as such, although it might not have been intended.
This is a duck with a definite attitude problem right here.
She's a babe and she knows it and she's showing off.
Definitely some detailed decoys and a one-of-a-kind exhibit in a weird waterfowl sort of way.
So fly on over and see it, huh?
That's it. Waddle in.
Waddle in.
He swears they're all different. You've heard of an attack dog, but what about an attack rooster pheasant? John got a tip from Northwest Boise about this wild animal with a very wild habit. It meant the search for the story would be unpredictable as usual, and so would the outcome.
You know, you take a huge risk when you answer a call about a wild attack pheasant.
Okay, I don't really know what to expect here. Is that it?
It's a cat.
a cat.
We also found lots of dogs and horses, and eventually we found Judy Parsley's place.
His name is Rocky.
I saw the tribute to him on your mailbox.
Yeah.
Will Rocky the pheasant eat corn?
Loves corn.
Just not my corn.
Well, this is stupid. How would you describe his personality?
I think he may be just a little bit mentally not all there.
Yeah, I kind of knew the feeling.
This isn't gonna work. I mean, we could come back tomorrow, but how many days do you want to spend on an alleged semi-brain damaged rooster pheasant?
So we drove back and forth, halfway considering the newsworthiness of Judy's fine lantern collection, when all of a sudden, there he is! An actual attack pheasant.
Don't let me kill him.
Who actually will chase you
Till you get past the neighbor's house. He just doesn't like strangers.
He's a good-looking bird.
Yeah, he is. Pretty.
Ah, like you said, though, about a brick short of a load up there, huh?
Right.
And John finally caught up with him. Rocky only stuck around for 2 pictures, but Judy says occasionally he'll jump up on her neighbor's porch and drink out of a coffee cup. Just not John Miller's coffee cup. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you again next week as we look at more of the best of John Miller.
Cue up the banjo music.
Idaho!
How's it going?
She is cheating.
Oh, man.
Revenge is sweet.
I'd say the odds of that happening with me are pretty much 0. Okay, 1%.